Martha and Mary. All throughout my life, Martha and Mary have been pitted against each other. We are kind of asked to choose one over the other, implying that one is better than the other. But we think that one is better than the other because it's what Jesus said in our reading. He said that Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken from her. And I always wondered why Jesus thought Mary's response was better. And we all like Mary was at the foot of Jesus and all that stuff. But I found out that the word better in Greek, because remember, you'd be surprised in the year of our Lord 2025 that there are still people who believe that the Bible's first language was English. English wasn't even around when Jesus was around. Okay, good. Was that right? I just took a guess. So the word better that's used in Luke's gospel is that word. And that word doesn't actually mean better. It means good. So in essence, what Jesus is saying, for me, when Jesus says, when we use that word the way it's meant to be, Mary has chosen the good part, which should not be taken from her. It's still saying the same thing. It just, for me, resonates more. Jesus is not saying what Mary's doing is better than Martha. What Mary's doing right now is good, and that will not be taken from her. Because Jesus does chastise Martha. If you ever speak to Jesus, and Jesus says your name twice, be ready for a lesson that's going to come your way. Martha, Martha. Right? I think at one point he says Peter. There's a couple instances where he says someone's name twice, and it's like, okay, you're in trouble. But Jesus isn't grading their behavior. He's not pitting them against one another. He's not rejecting Martha's service or her devotion. He's redirecting her focus. He is gently naming her anxiety. Jesus isn't saying that the contemplative life is better than the active life. He's not saying that women should be quiet and sit in the corner while the men talk about theology and all the important things. This is Jesus naming what discipleship looks like in this moment. Mary chose the good part because the moment was about being present, not productive. Martha isn't wrong for wanting to be hospitable. In fact, hospitality is a very, very important important part of the Abrahamic culture. In fact, if you read Hosea or Ezekiel, I should know this. God lays out to Ezekiel why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. God's first words were, Sodom and his sister Gomorrah were not hospitable. Thank you for that. So Martha isn't wrong for wanting to make sure that she is a good host, but somewhere along the way, service turned into stress. Welcome turned into resentment. She was so busy doing things for Jesus that she forgot to be with Jesus, which, for me, that hits really, really close to home. There's this misconception that pastors' spiritual lives are always strong and on point because we're paid to be Christians, in a sense. I was in a room full of colleagues a couple years ago, and I said, hey, look, we're all professional Christians because we're the only ones getting paid for it. And no one laughed, and that's why I knew that these people are just boring Episcopal priests. I mean, laugh a little. But we're just like everyone else. When life gets crazy, the first thing that usually falls off our plates and everyone else's plates is our spiritual lives, our connection to Jesus, to God. And it's even wilder for us as clergy people because we're doing the work of God. But sometimes we get so busy doing the work of God, we do the work of God without ever checking in with, hey, is this what God wants? Right? We end up doing, instead of saying, God, where would you have us be? What would you have me to do? Where do you want me to go? We say, God, I'm doing this, and you better bless it or find someone else. But how many of us have served in the church or at work or our families out of love at first, and then slowly and quietly it turned to bitterness? How many of us have done the right things, but with the wrong heart, because we never stopped long enough to check if Jesus is still in the room with us? Now, I shared with you on Easter, for those of you that weren't here, that I was diagnosed with moderate depression right before Holy Week, which was the best time because, Holy Week isn't busy at all for us. And and for a while, for a good half the year or so, maybe even 8 months, I was doing the right things, perhaps with the wrong heart, or just doing things with no heart, letting muscle memory take over, just going through the motion. And now I am afraid what those consequences of not fully present will be like. I don't know how this is going to pop up and bite me in the butt later. But my headbutting with the powers that be, and all the anger and disappointment and bitterness that started to well up, I did not know what to do with it. So I just shoved it down and said, we're going to move forward because I'm a man. Didn't work out. Because what you resist will persist. I want you to hear that. What you resist will persist. And I resisted sitting with this because I didn't want to deal with it, because I felt that I was in the right, I did everything good, and the diocese just pulled the rug under for me and making me figure out the rest. So I was stuffing it down, and at one point, we Koreans have a saying. And the saying is, it's like riding on the back of a tiger, which, sounds cool. I mean, that's pretty that's pretty cool. I'll say something else. and the idea of it is really cool. Think about riding a dinosaur. I don't know if you remember, people my age, there was a show, a cartoon like Dinosaurs or something like that, and these dino, you could like the brontosaurus were had missiles on them, and you ride. Anyway, I'm old. Riding on the back of tiger looks pretty cool. I thought you were sitting on your guitar case. I was like, what are you doing? Sorry, I don't have ADD. So, hey. So riding on the back of tiger looks really cool and sounds like a good idea until you realize you can't really get off of the tiger without getting eaten. You don't ride a tiger to control it. You ride a tiger because you don't want to die. Because once you get off the tiger's be like, oh, it was you the whole time? Meet my claw. So you just hold on for dear life, knowing that you're in deep danger and that the danger is also very, very real. So you're stuck. And I felt stuck. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what was next. I didn't know where I was supposed to be. And I was just riding on the back of this tiger, wondering if my only choice was to get off and get eaten. And I don't know what that would have looked like in real life. Needless to say, it is not the most healthiest places to be in. And there's not that much productivity, creativity, ingenuity that comes from being stuck on the back of a tiger. So I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling bitter. I'm feeling sad. And then the diagnosis hit. And that made me even more angry. Like, I cannot believe that the Episcopal Diocese of Texas gave me depression. I was like, what? But after Easter, I realized I had to sit with this. I had to get off the tiger and face whatever consequences, whatever it is in front of me. And that is also when I became intentional in trying to be aware of the presence of God all around me, trying to reconnect, trying to remind myself of my calling and why I'm doing this, why I'm here, what my purpose is. And I told you that on Easter Sunday, I sat through and waded through all the muck and mess that I created. The thing that the tiger mauled was obviously, for me, it was obvious, my pride and my ego. I had to confront my role in this. You know, I said I did everything right, I did everything good and all that stuff. Kinda. I could have been more cordial. I could have been less sarcastic, I think. I do not like how y'all looked at each other and whispered, "Hold up!" I had to face my shortcomings and remind myself, hey, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. I had 2 previous encounters with very powerful people in the church, 2 different bishops, and I kicked their shins, so to speak. I've been butting heads with institutions. I don't have this rebellious streak in me, but apparently I do. And so at some point, I have to realize, hey, if I'm in California as a Methodist and I run into a problem, and then I move to Texas as a Methodist and I run into this problem, and now as an Episcopalian I run into this problem, there's only one common denominator. Again, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. Or at least part of it. Because remember, it always takes 2 to tango. There's always 3 truths to a story. One side, the other side, and what actually happened. And in this time, as I was wading through everything, admitting to my faults, admitting that there's something in me, I don't know what Enneagram I am because it changes all the time, but I remember when my friend Katie came here to preach, she said that she picked her Enneagram based on what her biggest fear was, and her biggest fear was failure, so she was Enneagram 1. I realized that one of my biggest failures is being controlled by someone that I don't want to be controlled by. And I think that's 6, 7, 8, 5, 4, 3, or 2, or 1. and just sitting with that, why does this bother me? Why am I always resistant to this? And there's 2 emails I should have never sent that I sent, breaking my own advice. I wrote it and I didn't sleep on it. I just pressed send, and that caused more issues. And as I was just waiting and walking through everything, hashing all the stuff that happened and all those things that I felt was injustice to me and all the ways that I reacted in the wrong way, I rediscovered one of my favorite words regarding God, and that's yet. And yet, even through all this, I felt held. And yet, I felt love. Even at my lowest moment of what am I supposed to do? Where am I going? What am I doing? And yet I felt that God had never given up on me. For those of you who are younger than me, so if you're like 24 and younger, there was this wild phenomenon in the 90s called the magic eye. All right? You're all showing your age if you're nodding. Now, I don't know if this one actually works because they said print it out to see it. But the concept of this magic eye is if you stare at it a certain way, cross your eyes or whatever you do, at some point a hidden 3D image pops up. And you can see it. And I was stuck. And I didn't feel unstuck until Confirmation Sunday, which was only 3 weeks ago, right? There's something that happened within me on Confirmation Sunday, as I saw the 2 bishops and the 2 canons sitting here and going to the confirmation, it felt like the magic eye. Everything came into focus. And I felt my purpose. I felt my calling. I felt a sense of worth. I felt like, okay, I think that this is where God is telling me to, I think God is saying, hey, you cried about it long enough. It's time to, still cry about it, but do something too. Like cry and do something about it. Like be angry and don't sit and wallow and there's lots of work to do. And most of it is behind me. Most of it is behind us. I had very fruitful and healthy discussions with Hannah to the Ordinary. I had discussions with Mother Leslie, my boss, and we're all wanting to move forward. And so now the task continues. We move forward together in giving Jesus a new PR because Jesus really needs new PR for other non-Christian Americans in this country. But I need to slow down and I need to gather my bearings. I have taken on a pace that has been unsustainable, which is one of the big reasons why everything fell apart so quickly. With that said, come September, y'all and Jen are on your own. The Bishops' Committee has graciously given me the entire month of September off so that I can recharge and come back and to engage in the work that we've been commissioned by God to do together. And I believe that I scored Father Jim Libertor to fill in for me for the entire month of September. The funny thing is, don't clap for him! Just kidding, Father Jim. The funny thing is, he's been intern priesting, whatever, in Beaumont. So for 2 years, he's been going to Beaumont every weekend. And August 31st is his last day of interning. And then I was like, and he told me that. And I was like, hey, since you're done in August, I have something in September. And he said, I'll do it. So September is about a month and a half away. We have time to prepare ourselves and get so that things don't fall apart. But please, I'm begging you, please ensure that Jen is still here when I come back. Please. Y'all need Jen more than y'all need me, trust me. So there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done that Jen can't do all on her own. So she is going to need help. And this is an opportunity for y'all to, I want to say keep the boat afloat, but that's just to keep us moving forward and until I come back. It's only 4 Sundays. You'll be fine. Going back to the sisters, what Mary was doing was important. What Martha was doing was just as important. We need people who know how to sit and listen. And we need people who know how to get up and feed the crowd. We need people like Martha's who don't forget Jesus in the kitchen. And we need people like Mary who don't mistake proximity for participation. So here's the real question. In this season of your life, what is the good part that Jesus is inviting you to choose? For me, I need to channel Mary and sit and be present and be reminded that this is all for the kingdom of God, that this is my calling, not just my job, but this is what I am, my purpose of life. And for those of you who might be in the Martha moment because there's work to be done, people to feed, kids to raise, bills to pay, good. Do those things. Serve. But don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to sit. Don't forget to let Jesus speak into all that you're doing. You can still make the act of paying a bill online a sacred moment. You can still make dishes, washing dishes, a sacred moment because God doesn't only appear in churches. God is everywhere, at all times, anywhere. Or maybe you're like, you need to be a Mary in the moment. You're worn out. You're given too much. You're spiritually hungry. Good. Sit. Soak it in. Find people who give you life, who challenges you to think and imagine and be creative. Choose the good part because it will not be taken from you. And as for us, the church, we need to stop playing favorites. Let's not tell Marthas that they need to stop, and let's not shame Marys for resting. Let's be the community that makes space for both, because the guest of honor is here and the table is big enough. But I think here's the kicker. At the end of the night, the sisters are, whatever happened, they're all eating. And I imagine that Jesus at the head of the table breaks bread, prays over it, gives it to them. And as they're eating, as the supper was done, I like to imagine in that moment that both sisters realized that Jesus wasn't just the guest in their home, that Jesus was the host at the table. And the meal they needed most wasn't the one that Martha made, it was the one that Mary listened for. So choose the good part. What is Jesus inviting you to choose? Choose the good part, not the perfect part, not the Instagrammable, take a picture on social media and post it part, #blessed, but the good part, and it won't be taken from you. If you're able, please stand and let us recite our creed together. We believe